The Zorlon soldier's guts splattered on the dirt as Sergeant Riker blasted him point blank with a plasma shotgun. The human unit tearing through the alien lines like starving wolves ripping into a carcass. Just hours ago, the battle seemed unwinnable. But now, with the human special forces joining the fray, the Xindi watched in awe as the tide turned before their eyes. Cycles earlier, Altair stood before the Xindi High Council, the weight of his words hanging heavy in the chamber. He told them starkly that the Xindi would be slaughtered, their civilization erased, cities razed, children enslaved, unless they resorted to a desperate strategy. Request aid from the humans, a species known only by legend and whispered stories of their ferocity in battle. The council members bristled at the idea. Inviting an unfamiliar race to join their war felt like grasping at plasma, a fool's gambit. But as Altair laid out the grim projections, the fatality rates, the dwindling weapons stores, even the most stubborn counselors could not deny reality. The humans were their last chance. This was no longer a matter of pride, but of survival. So Altair traveled across the stars to a blue and green world, where he met a gruff soldier named Douglas Hunter. The man moved with a coiled lethality, his eyes hard like polished stones. At first, Hunter scoffed at the idea of risking human lives for the squabbles of distant aliens. But then, the human glimpsed the yoke of infant bones hanging on the Zorlon's armor, saw videos of Xindi civilians dragged, screaming into meat grinders and mulched into nutrient paste, and his jaw set in cold rage. Hunter turned to Altair and spoke in a growl. "I'll find you some soldiers. Whoever these Zorlon bastards are, if they ain't stopped here, they'll roll over everyone in the galaxy, Terra included. This shit ends now." The human made good on his word. He gathered a hardened squad of warriors, scarred men and women who carried an arsenal of weapons both sleek and brutal. They pored over specks of Xindi pulse tanks and plasma lances, eyes hungry for advantages. Hunter and Altair strategized for hours, knowing every decision could damn or deliver millions. Finally, the joint human Xindi force gathered on the launch pad. Rows of grim faces stared out at the stars, knowing those distant points of light would soon be aflame with the fires of war. The Xindi had no illusions. This operation would either see them victorious or extinct. There was no in-between. As the ships lifted off, blazing violet contrails across the sky, Altair felt a flicker of something unfamiliar in his chest, a sensation that had grown distant through cycles of loss and despair. He dared to feel a sliver of hope. With the humans at their side, the Xindi had a fighting chance. And fight they would, to the last soldier, the last round, the last drop of blood. The dropships hit the ground, hatches slamming open as the joint human Xindi force surged onto the battlefield. Plasma bolts sizzled overhead, Zorlon war cries echoing across the blasted landscape. Douglas Hunter charged forward, his team of elite soldiers fanning out beside him, weapons spitting death. Altair led the Xindi troops, his face grim as he surveyed the chaos. The Zorlons had numbers on their side, waves of fanatical warriors throwing themselves against the Allied lines. But the humans brought something new to the fight, tactics and technology the Zorlons had never faced before. Hunter's men activated their stealth suits, shimmering out of visibility as they slipped behind enemy lines. They moved like ghosts, planting explosives at key points, sowing chaos and confusion. Zorlon commanders barked orders, trying to rally their troops, but the humans were always one step ahead. In the thick of the fighting, Hunter saw a Xindi officer go down, a Zorlon blade buried in his chest. The human leapt forward, his plasma rifle roaring, cutting down the attacker. He knelt beside the fallen Xindi, recognizing him as Kiris, one of Altair's top lieutenants. "Hold on, I've got you," Hunter growled, dragging Kiris to cover. He slapped a med patch on the wound, the nanites knitting flesh and bone. Kiris gripped Hunter's arm, his eyes fierce. "Listen to me, human. There's a Zorlon supply depot, 50 clicks north of here. It's their main resupply point. If we take it out..." "We cut their balls off," Hunter finished. He nodded, mind racing. "I'll handle it. Rest up. I need you back in the fight." The human gathered his team, laying out the plan. They'd split into two groups. Hunter would lead the assault on the depot while Reeves created a distraction, drawing the Zorlons away. They moved out, Reeves's team hitting the Zorlons hard, plasma and shrapnel flying. The aliens swarmed to meet the threat, pulling forces away from the depot. Hunter's group struck like lightning, breaching the perimeter and storming inside. They fought their way to the heart of the facility, planting charges at critical junctures. The timer beeped down as they raced for the exit, Zorlon reinforcements closing in. The blast shook the earth, a fountain of fire and debris erupting into the sky. The depot was reduced to smoldering rubble, along with a good chunk of the Zorlon war machine. News of the victory spread fast. Xindi soldiers cheered as they saw the humans in action, their ghost warrior allies, striking fear into the hearts of the enemy. Zorlon troops whispered of the demons who came from the stars, the unkillable humans who slaughtered without mercy. Altair and Hunter pressed their advantage, launching a blistering series of raids against Zorlon weak points. The humans integrated Xindi tech into their arsenal, becoming even deadlier as they wreaked havoc behind enemy lines. The Zorlon Empire began to crack, their aura of invincibility shattered. Installations fell, supply lines collapsed, their forces in disarray. The remnants retreated to their core worlds, clinging to the last vestiges of their crumbling regime. But even as the Xindi celebrated, Hunter knew this was just the beginning. The Zorlons were beaten but not broken, and they would not go quietly. To end this war once and for all, they would have to take the fight to the enemy's doorstep, a final climactic clash that would decide the hope of the universe itself. Hunter wiped sweat from his brow as he pored over holograms of Zor Prime. The stolen intel painted a grim picture, layers of automated defenses, legions of fanatical troops, and a labyrinthine palace at the heart of it all. But within those walls lay their target, the Zorlon Emperor and his war council. "We hit fast, we hit hard," Hunter growled, jabbing a finger at the map. "One shot to end this war." Altair nodded, his alien features set with grim purpose. The High Council has approved the mission. They know the stakes. For weeks, the strike team drilled relentlessly. Human and Xindi soldiers moved as one, honing their skills to a razor's edge. Kiris, the Xindi officer Hunter had saved, proved invaluable. He knew Zorlon protocols inside and out, pointing out vulnerabilities their enemies never imagined existed. "Here," Kiris said, indicating a service tunnel. "The energy shielding is weakest. We can slip past if we time it right." As the day of reckoning approached, a vast allied armada assembled in secret. Xindi dreadnoughts and human carriers hung in the void, crews tense and ready. They would draw the Zorlon fleet away, giving the strike team their window. Hunter stood before his troops, a mix of hardened humans and elite Xindi warriors. "This is it. No speeches, no bullshit. We get in, we take out the bastards in charge, we end this war. Watch each other's backs. Move fast, strike hard. Let's go." They boarded stolen Zorlon transports, tension thick in the air. As they approached Zor Prime, the sky lit up with the flash of capital ships engaging. The diversion worked. Orbital defenses were in chaos, giving them the opening they needed. Using Kairos' intel, they slipped through a gap in the planet's energy shield. The transport shuddered as it entered the atmosphere, artificial gravity straining. They touched down hard in a maintenance district, alarms already blaring. "Move! Move! Move!" Hunter barked. The strike team poured out, weapons at the ready. They fought their way through surprised work crews and security patrols, Xindi particle beams and human plasma rifles cutting down anyone who stood in their way. They reached the palace perimeter, Zorlon troops now fully alerted. Hunter's team laid down suppressing fire as Altair's squad used Xindi phase shifters to breach the outer wall. They regrouped inside, splitting up as planned. "Good hunting," Altair said, clasping Hunter's arm before leading his team towards the command center. Hunter and his soldiers pushed deeper into the palace, engaging in brutal room-to-room combat. Zorlon guards fell before their onslaught, but not without cost. A human trooper took a plasma bolt to the chest, his scream cut short. Hunter gritted his teeth and pressed on. They reached the gilded doors of the throne room, the last obstacle between them and the Zorlon Emperor. Hunter planted breaching charges and signaled his team to take cover. The explosion rocked the corridor, and they surged through the smoke. The Emperor stood ready, flanked by his elite guard. He was a towering figure, cybernetically enhanced and wielding a crackling energy glaive. Hunter emptied his rifle into the nearest guard, diving for cover as return fire saturated the air. The firefight was intense, but the humans' superior tactics began to tell. One by one, the guards fell. Hunter found himself face to face with the Emperor, energy glaive clashing against his combat knife. The Zorlon leader was inhumanly strong, driving Hunter back. A vicious backhand sent the human sprawling, his knife skittering away. The Emperor raised his glaive for a killing blow, only for a particle beam to sear through his shoulder. Altair stood in the doorway, his weapon smoking. Hunter seized the moment, tackling the Emperor and grappling for control of the glaive. Together, Human and Xindi fought side by side against the wounded but still deadly Emperor. In a final desperate move, Hunter managed to turn the energy glaive against its wielder, driving it deep into the Zorlon's chest. Silence fell over the throne room. Hunter and Altair shared a weary glance, the reality of their victory sinking in. Altair moved quickly to the command console, broadcasting news of the Emperor's fall to the Zorlon fleet. "Your leader is dead," Altair's voice rang out across comm channels. "Your war is over. Surrender now or face annihilation." In orbit, the Allied fleet pressed its advantage against the now leaderless Zorlon armada. Ship after ship powered down weapons, signaling surrender. A few die-hard captains tried to rally a counterattack, but they were swiftly overwhelmed. Word spread like wildfire. Across 100 worlds, Zorlon garrisons laid down their arms. The war that had raged for decades sputtered out in a matter of hours. In the days that followed, Hunter and Altair found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. There were Zorlon holdouts to mop up, peace treaties to negotiate, and a galaxy's worth of rebuilding to begin. "So what now?" Hunter asked as they stood on a balcony overlooking the Zorlon capital, now under Allied control. Altair's mandibles twitched in what Hunter had come to recognize as a smile. "Now, my friend, we forge a new future, together." The fall of the Zorlon Empire left a power vacuum that threatened to plunge the galaxy back into chaos. Hunter and Altair knew their work was nowhere near the end. In the weeks following their victory, they spent long hours in strategy sessions, hammering out the framework for a new galactic coalition. "We need to strike a balance," Altair chittered, his mandibles working as he studied the holographic star map. "Show strength, but not aggression. Stability, not tyranny." Hunter nodded, rubbing his stubbled jaw. "Agreed, but we can't ignore the threats still out there. Zorlon holdouts, opportunistic warlords. We need to be ready." They formed an elite joint task force, combining the best of Xindi and human military talent. Hunter handpicked his team, a mix of grizzled veterans and promising rookies. They trained relentlessly, honing their skills in simulators designed to replicate any combat scenario. Their first real test came sooner than expected. Reports flooded in of a new threat emerging on the frontier world of Thrak. A warlord named Grax was consolidating power, absorbing mercenary groups and local militias into a formidable fighting force. "He's declared his intention to build a new empire," Kiris reported, his scales flushing with agitation. "If we don't act fast, he could destabilize the entire sector." Hunter studied the intel, his eyes narrowing. "Then we hit him hard and fast. Cut the head off the snake before it can strike." They assembled a strike team and set course for Thrak. As their ship dropped out of hyperspace, the planet's scarred surface came into view. Grax's forces had been busy. Fortified outposts dotted the landscape, and sensor readings showed a substantial fleet in orbit. "This won't be easy," Altair growled. Hunter grinned, that familiar pre-battle adrenaline surging through his veins. When is it ever? They formulated a daring plan. Using a combination of Xindi cloaking tech and the humans' expertise in stealth insertions, a small team would infiltrate Grax's stronghold while the main force engaged his army as a distraction. Hunter led the infiltration team himself, with Altair and Kyrus at his side. They slipped past automated defenses and patrols, making their way deeper into the heart of Grax's power base. The fighting was intense. Hunter's team fought room by room, corridor by corridor. Plasma bolts sizzled past, leaving scorch marks on metal walls. The acrid smell of ozone and blood filled the air. Finally, they breached the command center. Grax stood waiting, a hulking figure in battle armor, energy axe humming ominously. "So, the famous ghost warriors," Grax sneered. "I was hoping you'd come. Now I get to crush you myself." But Grax had one last card to play. In a lightning-fast move, he grabbed Kyrus, pressing a vibroblade to the Xindi's throat. "One more step and your friend dies." Hunter's mind raced, assessing options. He locked eyes with Kyrus, saw the drive there. In that moment, he made his choice. "Everyone covering fire," Hunter barked. "I'm going in." What followed was a brutal, close-quarters fight. Hunter dodged and weaved, using his smaller size and greater agility to avoid Grax's crushing blows. The warlord's energy axe left trails of superheated air with each swing. Hunter took hits, felt ribs crack under a thunderous backhand, but he pressed on, looking for an opening. He found it when Grax overextended on a wild swing. Hunter ducked under the axe and drove his combat knife deep into a gap in Grax's armor. The warlord roared in pain and fury. His grip on Kyrus loosened just enough for the Xindi to break free. Hunter pressed his advantage, a flurry of strikes targeting weak points in Grax's defenses. With a final, desperate lunge, Hunter managed to disarm Grax and bring him to his knees. The warlord glared up at him, defiant to the last. "It's over," Hunter growled. "Surrender now, and we'll spare what's left of your forces." With Grax in custody and his army in disarray, the Xindi-Human alliance swiftly secured control of Thrak and the surrounding systems. As they mopped up the last pockets of resistance, news of Hunter's victory spread like wildfire across subspace channels. The defeat of Grax sent a clear message to the galaxy. The new Xindi-Human coalition was a force to be reckoned with. Any who sought to disrupt the hard-won peace would face the full might of the Ghost Warriors. As Hunter stood on the bridge of their ship, watching Thrak recede into the distance, he felt a mix of pride and weariness. They'd won this battle, but he knew there would be more challenges ahead. The fight for a stable, peaceful galaxy was far from finished. Hunter stood before the holographic display, his eyes scanning the network of fortified outposts dotting the Alliance's outer regions. The blue glow of the projection cast harsh shadows across his face, highlighting the lines of fatigue etched into his features. "Another incursion attempt," Altair reported, his mandibles clicking softly. "Sector 7, Outpost Epsilon, repelled." Hunter nodded, zooming in on the sector. "That's the third probe in as many days. They're testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses." The Kraloth threat loomed large, an ever-present shadow on the edges of Alliance space. Intelligence reports painted a grim picture, a species driven by conquest, leaving ravaged worlds in their wake. A proximity alert blared, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Hunter's hand flew to his sidearm as he spun towards the main view screen. "Report!" "Distress signal, sir," the comms officer shouted. "Human colony on Vega Prime. They're under attack." Hunter's blood ran cold. Vega Prime was a fledgling settlement, its defenses still in their infancy. "Kraloth," the officer nodded grimly. "Signature matches their ships. A large strike force breached our outer perimeter." "Damn it," Hunter snarled, smacking his fist on the console. "How the hell did they slip past our early warning systems?" Altair's multifaceted eyes narrowed. "We'll dissect that failure later. Right now, those colonists need us." Hunter nodded, his mind already racing through tactical scenarios. "Assemble the Ghost Warriors. We move out in 10. The next hours passed in a blur of frantic activity. Hunter handpicked his strike team, a lethal combination of battle-hardened humans and Xindi special forces. As they prepped their gear, feed from Vega Prime painted a horrific picture. Kraloth shock troops rampaged through the streets, herding terrified civilians into makeshift holding pens. "Listen up," Hunter addressed his team as they boarded their stealth dropship. "We're going in hot and quiet. Xindi cloaking tech will get us planet-side undetected. Our priority is freeing those captives and disrupting Kraloth command and control. Hit fast, hit hard, and watch each other's backs." The dropship's engines thrummed to life, vibrating through the deck plates. As they rocketed towards Vega Prime, Hunter studied the grim faces of his warriors, human and Xindi, united by a common purpose. They breached the planet's atmosphere under the cover of the Xindi's advanced stealth field. The burning colony sprawled beneath them, plumes of smoke rising from shattered buildings. Hunter's face hardened at the sight. "Picking up a concentration of Kraloth energy signatures," the pilot reported. "Looks like their main command post." Hunter nodded. "Take us in. We'll start there." The dropship touched down silently in a bombed-out plaza. Hunter's team fanned out, weapons at the ready. The acrid stench of burning plastics and ozone filled the air. "Move out," Hunter whispered into his comm. "And stay frosty. These bastards are going to regret the day they crossed paths with the Ghost Warriors." They crept through the ravaged streets, Xindi particle beams and human plasma rifles ready. The distant sound of energy weapons and screams echoed through the ruined cityscape. Hunter pushed down the rage building in his chest. There'd be time for vengeance later. Right now, they had a job to do. As they approached the Kraloth command post, Hunter signaled for his team to take up positions. He nodded to Sergeant Vasquez, their demolitions expert. "Light 'em up," Hunter ordered. Vasquez grinned, activating the detonator. A series of explosions rocked the Kraloth stronghold, shattering windows and collapsing walls. "Go, go, go!" Hunter shouted. The Ghost Warriors surged forward, unleashing a devastating barrage of weapons fire. Caught completely off guard, the Kraloth defenders fell in droves. Hunter led the charge, his plasma rifle spitting superheated death. They fought their way deeper into the complex, securing key command and communications nodes. Altair's razor-sharp claws tore through Kraloth armor with minimal resistance, while Corporal Chen's pinpoint accuracy dropped enemy after enemy. "Command center secured," Altair reported, his scales flecked with alien blood. "We've severed their primary comms. The Kraloth forces are in disarray." Hunter nodded grimly. "Good. Now for Phase 2. Let's find those captives." They pushed out into the city, striking at Kraloth patrols and freeing pockets of human prisoners. The tide began to turn as more colonists joined the fight, arming themselves with fallen Kraloth weapons. Hours of intense urban combat followed. The Ghost Warriors moved like wraiths through the streets, appearing and disappearing, leaving devastation in their wake. Slowly but surely, they drove the invaders back. As the last Kraloth dropship fled the planet's surface, a ragged cheer went up from the assembled colonists and Ghost Warriors. Hunter allowed himself a small smile, but he knew this was just the beginning. In the days that followed, as they helped the colonists rebuild, reports flooded in from across Kraloth space. The defeat on Vega Prime had sent shockwaves through their ranks. Intercepted communications spoke of the demon warriors who had appeared from nowhere to smash their invasion force. Hunter stood with Altair on a hillside overlooking the recovering colony. "They'll be back," he said quietly, "and in greater numbers." Altair nodded, his alien features set in a grim expression. "Then we'll be ready. This victory has bought us time. Time to prepare, to shore up our defenses." "And to take the fight to them," Hunter added, his eyes hard. "We've bloodied their nose. Now it's time to show the Kraloth what happens when you threaten the Alliance." As they turned to leave, Hunter cast one last look over the colony. The scars of battle were still fresh, but he could see the tenacity in the faces of the survivors, human and Xindi working side by side to rebuild. They boarded their ship, ready to return to Alliance space and prepare for the battles to come. The Kraloth had made a grave mistake in underestimating their foe. Hunter intended to make them pay dearly for that error. Hunter stared at the holographic display, his eyes narrowed as he absorbed the latest intelligence reports. The room hummed with tension as he turned to Altair, the Xindi's compound eyes reflecting the flickering data streams. "They're gearing up for something big," Hunter said, his voice low and tight. "Look at these weapon shipments, plasma cannons, shielding tech we've never seen before." Altair clicked his mandibles, a sign of agitation. "The ceasefire was just a ploy. They've been preparing all along." Hunter nodded, his heart made. "We need to act fast, fortify our outer systems, boost fleet numbers, but that won't be enough." "What do you propose?" Altair asked. A ghost of a smile played across Hunter's face. "We hit them where it hurts. They're shipyards." Hours later, Hunter stood before a hand-picked team of human and Xindi operatives, the best of the best, hardened veterans who had fought alongside him in countless battles. "This mission is Black Ops," Hunter explained, his voice carrying across the briefing room. "We infiltrate the Kraloth shipyards, cripple their production capabilities. Failure is not an option." The team moved out under cover of darkness, their stealth dropship cloaked by cutting-edge Xindi technology. As they approached the massive Kraloth shipyard complex, Hunter felt the familiar surge of pre-mission adrenaline. "Remember," he whispered into his comm, "stick to your assigned targets, plant the viruses, set the charges, and get out. No heroics." They slipped past the outer defenses with practiced ease, the Xindi cloaking field rendering them invisible to Kraloth sensors. Once inside, the team split into smaller units, each heading for a different section of the sprawling facility. Hunter led his group towards the main computer core. They moved silently through dimly lit corridors, dodging patrols with split-second timing. At one point, a Kraloth guard passed so close that Hunter could smell the alien's acrid breath. He held perfectly still, not daring to breathe until the threat had passed. Finally, they reached the core. As Sergeant Chen stood watch, Hunter and Corporal Rodriguez got to work, their fingers flying over alien keyboards as they uploaded the virus. "Sir," Chen hissed, "patrol incoming!" Hunter's heart raced as he watched the progress bar crawl towards completion. The heavy footsteps of Kraloth guards echoed down the corridor, growing louder with each passing second. "Almost there," Hunter muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. The progress bar hit 100% just as the patrol rounded the corner. Hunter and his team ducked behind a bank of servers, holding their breath as the Kraloth passed by, oblivious to the sabotage that had just occurred. Across the shipyard, similar scenes played out. Explosive charges were carefully placed on critical machinery. Viruses wormed their way into production systems, introducing subtle but catastrophic flaws into starship designs. As the team regrouped at the extraction point, Hunter felt a surge of pride. They had pulled it off without a single casualty or detection. "Ghosts lead to Phantom Base," he whispered into his comm as they boarded the dropship. "Package delivered. Mission accomplished." As they sped away from the shipyards, leaving chaos in their wake, Hunter allowed himself a small smile. The Kraloth had no idea what was coming for them. As the dropship streaked away from the Kraloth shipyards, Hunter allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The operation had been a resounding success, but he knew the war was far from finished. Weeks passed as Hunter and Altair oversaw the consolidation of the Alliance's newly liberated territories. They pored over reports, coordinated relief efforts, and shored up defenses. It was grueling work, but necessary to cement their hard-won gains. One evening, as Hunter studied a tactical display in his quarters, an urgent comm alert shattered the silence. He activated the channel, and Altair's agitated face materialized. "Hunter, we have a situation." The Xindi's multifaceted eyes glinted with concern. "Intelligence just uncovered something big. Get to the war room immediately." Minutes later, Hunter strode into the command center, his face a mask of focus. Altair stood before a holographic star map, surrounded by grim-faced officers. "What's the situation?" Hunter asked, his eyes scanning the data streams. Altair's mandibles clicked. "We've detected a massive buildup of ships in the Xiron Nebula. It's not Kraloth, it's Zorlon." Hunter's blood ran cold. "Zorlon? That's impossible. We crushed their empire years ago." "Not all of it, apparently," Altair brought up a series of intelligence reports. A renegade faction led by a warlord named Xyrax has been quietly rebuilding. They've used our conflict with the Kraloth as cover to amass a significant fleet. Hunter studied the reports, his mind racing. How did we miss this? Xyrax was cunning, Altair explained. He's been operating beyond our sensor range, gathering the remnants of the Zorlon war machine. Our focus on the Kraloth threat left us blind to his machinations. Hunter's fists clenched. We need more intel. Dispatch recon teams to the nebula immediately. Over the next few days, Hunter and Altair worked tirelessly, coordinating the deployment of their best stealth operatives. Xindi cloaking technology allowed their scout ships to slip undetected into the roiling gases of the Xiron Nebula. The reports that trickled back sent shockwaves through Alliance High Command. Xyrax had assembled an armada of over 1,000 warships, each overflowing with advanced Zorlon weaponry. Hunter stared at the holographic display, his face etched with relentless drive. We can't let Xyrax catch us off guard. Initiate emergency protocols, recall all available fleets and bolster our defenses. As Alliance ships streamed in from across the sector, Hunter assembled an elite strike team. Their mission, infiltrate Xyrax's command ship and disrupt his ability to coordinate his massive fleet. Under the cover of a fierce ion storm, Hunter's team slipped aboard Xyrax's flagship. They moved through the ship's corridors like ghosts, neutralizing Zorlon guards with brutal efficiency. In the cavernous engine room, Sergeant Chen planted a series of virus-laden data spikes into key systems. Charge is set, sir, she reported, her voice barely above a whisper. Hunter nodded, tapping his comm. All teams, fall back to the extraction point. We have less than 5 minutes before this whole ship goes dark. They fought their way back to their stealth shuttle, leaving a trail of unconscious Zorlon soldiers in their wake. As they disengaged from the massive warship, chaos erupted across Xyrax's fleet. Ships began drifting out of formation, communication channels filled with static. Now, Hunter barked into his comm as their shuttle cleared the nebula's edge. Space lit up as the Alliance armada dropped out of warp, guns blazing. Hunter's flagship, with Altair at the helm, led the charge. Taken completely by surprise, Xyrax's forces struggled to mount an effective defense. The battle raged for days. Alliance ships danced through the nebula's swirling gases, striking hard and fading away before the Zorlon vessels could effectively target them. Hunter's ghost warriors conducted daring boarding actions, neutralizing key enemy ships from within. Despite their tactical advantage, the sheer size of Xyrax's fleet began to take its toll. Alliance casualties mounted as the relentless Zorlon assault continued. On the 4th day of battle, alarms blared across Hunter's flagship. "Sir," a tactical officer shouted, "enemy boarding parties! They've breached our hull!" Hunter exchanged a grim look with Altair. "They're going for a decapitation strike. We need to end this now." The two commanders raced through the ship's corridors, rallying their troops. They reached the main airlock just as it blew inward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Zorlon shock troops poured through the breach, energy weapons spitting death. Hunter and Altair stood side by side, returning fire with deadly precision. The ship's corridors became a battleground as Alliance defenders clashed with Xyrax's elite guard in vicious close-quarters combat. Hunter's plasma rifle ran dry, forcing him to resort to hand-to-hand fighting. He ducked under a Zorlon warrior's wild swing, driving his combat knife deep into a vulnerable joint in the alien's armor. Beside him, Altair was a whirlwind of lethal efficiency. The Shindi's razor-sharp claws tore through Zorlon battlesuits with ease, leaving a trail of broken bodies in his wake. The two commanders fought their way to the bridge, where they found themselves face-to-face with Xyrax himself. The Zorlon warlord towered over them, his battle-scarred face twisted in a sneer of contempt. "So the great hunter and his Xindi lapdog," Xyrax growled, hefting a massive energy axe. "I'll crush you both and claim this galaxy as my own." What followed was a brutal, no-holds-barred brawl. Hunter and Altair moved in perfect synchronization, years of fighting side by side evident in every fluid motion. They ducked and weaved, striking at Zyrax from multiple angles. The Zorlon warlord was a formidable opponent, his axe carving arcs of destruction through the air. A glancing blow caught Hunter across the chest, searing through his armor and drawing a grunt of pain. Altair seized the opening, latching onto Zyrax's back and driving his claws deep into the alien's shoulder. The warlord roared in agony, giving Hunter the chance to close in. With a final desperate lunge, Hunter drove his combat knife up under Zyrax's chin. The Zorlon's eyes went wide with shock, then dimmed as he collapsed to the deck. In the wake of Zyrax's fall, his remaining forces quickly surrendered. The Alliance had won, but at a terrible cost. As Hunter stood on the observation deck, watching recovery teams salvage what they could from the battlefield, he felt the weight of every life lost settle heavily on his shoulders. Altair joined him, his normally pristine scales still stained with alien blood. "We did it, old friend," the Xindi said quietly. "The last remnant of the Zorlon Empire is no more." Hunter nodded, his eyes fixed on the stars beyond the nebula. "And we've paid for it in blood. But at least now, there's a chance for real peace." Word of the Alliance's triumph spread quickly across the sector. The legend of Hunter, Altair, and the Ghost Warriors grew with each retelling they had faced. The echoes of victory over Zyrax's forces faded as months passed, ushering in an era of unprecedented peace. Douglas Hunter stood at the viewport of the Alliance's central command station, gazing out at the tranquil expanse of stars. The weight of recent battles lifted from his shoulders, replaced by a cautious optimism. His moment of reflection shattered as the comm panel behind him chirped urgently. Hunter turned, activating the holographic display. Altair's insectoid face materialized, mandibles clicking with agitation. "Hunter, we have a situation." The Xindi's multifaceted eyes glinted with concern. "Reports are flooding in from the outer colonies. They're under attack." Hunter's muscles tensed. "Kraloth remnants?" Altair shook his head. "No, something new, something worse." Within hours, Hunter and Altair pored over intelligence reports in the war room. Holographic displays flickered with grainy footage of sleek, angular ships, unlike anything they'd encountered before. Colony after colony fell silent, their distress calls abruptly cut short. "What are we dealing with?" Hunter demanded, his eyes scanning tactical readouts. A human analyst stepped forward. "We're calling them the Vrilics, sir. Highly aggressive, technologically advanced. Their weapons—" She paused, swallowing hard. "They cut through our best defenses like they weren't even there." Hunter's heart made. "Casualties?" "Total in most cases," Altair replied, his voice heavy. "They leave no survivors." As days passed, the attacks intensified. Hunter dispatched scout teams to gather more intel, each mission more perilous than the last. He stood in the command center, listening to the frantic transmissions of a recon squad as they evaded Vrilics patrols. "We've infiltrated one of their command ships," the squad leader's voice crackled through static. "You're not going to believe this, sir. They think they're on some kind of holy crusade, chosen ones, destined to cleanse the galaxy of inferior life." Hunter's blood ran cold. He exchanged a grim look with Altair. "Get out of there, soldier. We need that intel." The Xindi's claws tapped rapidly on a console. "I'm monitoring their extraction. Wait, multiple bogies closing in. They're—" The transmission cut to static. Hunter pounded his fist on the command table, but there was no time for grief. He turned to Altair, his eyes blazing with purpose. "Assemble our best. Human Xindi doesn't matter. We're taking the fight to them." Days later, Hunter crouched in the hold of a stealth dropship, surrounded by the most elite soldiers the Alliance had to offer. The air thrummed with nervous energy as they approached Vrilixa, the Vrilics homeworld. "Remember," Hunter's voice carried through the comm, "our priority is intel gathering. We need to find their weaknesses, understand their capabilities. Stay sharp, stay hidden." The dropship touched down silently in a remote valley, cloaking field masking their presence. Hunter led his team through alien terrain, every sense on high alert. They moved like ghosts through sprawling cities of impossible architecture, dodging patrols with split-second precision. For days, they gathered data, piecing together the Vrilix war machine. Hunter stood in their makeshift base, studying holographic schematics of Vrilix weapons and ships. A knot formed in his stomach as he realized the true extent of the threat they faced. "Sir," a young corporal burst into the room, face pale. "You need to see this." Hunter followed him to a ridge overlooking a massive facility. Through high-powered optics, he witnessed a scene that would haunt him for years to come. Captured humans and Xindi, strapped to tables, screaming as Vrilix scientists conducted horrific experiments. "They're trying to create some kind of super soldier," the corporal whispered, voice shaking, "using our people as test subjects." Hunter's fists clenched, rage boiling inside him. He activated his comlink. "Altair, you seeing this?" "Every second." The Xindi's voice was cold with fury. "We can't let this continue." Hunter nodded, eyes still fixed on the facility. "Agreed. New mission parameters. We're shutting them down, hard and fast, and we're getting our people out." He turned to his team, face set with iron determination. "Prep for full assault. We hit them at dawn." The dust settled on Vrilixa, but Hunter and Altair found no time to rest. As they pored over intelligence reports in the war room, a new threat emerged from the shadows of their recent victory. "Another transmission, sir," a young analyst called out, her fingers flying over a holographic interface. "Reports of increased criminal activity in the Outer Rim. It's not random. There's a pattern." Hunter leaned in, studying the data. His eyes narrowed as he connected the dots. "The Shadow Collective," he muttered. Altair clicked his mandibles in agreement. "They're exploiting the power vacuum left by the Zorlan Empire, clever bastards." Over the next weeks, Hunter and Altair dug deeper. They uncovered a web of corruption spanning multiple star systems. Weapons trafficking, slave trading, extortion on a galactic scale. At the center of it all, a figure known only as the Broker. "We need more," Hunter growled, hitting his fist on the table. "I want names, locations, ship manifests, everything." They assembled a crack team of intelligence operatives. Humans with ice in their veins and Xindi who could slip through the tightest security. Night after night, they combed through encrypted transmissions and followed paper trails across a dozen worlds. The breakthrough came on a rainy evening. Altair burst into Hunter's quarters, his multifaceted eyes wide with alarm. "Douglas, you need to see this." Hunter followed Altair to the secure comms room. On the main screen, grainy footage showed canisters being loaded onto an unmarked freighter. Hunter's blood ran cold as he recognized the markings. "Zorlan bioweapons," he breathed. "If those get loose..." Altair didn't need to finish the thought. Hunter's mind focused. "Assemble the team, we're going hunting." The next month was a blur of action. Hunter's task force hit Shadow Collective operations across 3 sectors. They smashed smuggling rings, freed slaves, and seized mountains of contraband. With each raid, they gathered more intel on the Broker's organization. On a remote space station at the edge of known space, they cornered one of the Broker's top lieutenants. The firefight was brutal, but short. Hunter stood over the wounded alien, his voice cold as space itself. "Where are the bioweapons?" The lieutenant spat blood, but Hunter's piercing stare broke him. "Zorloth Prime," he gasped. "The old Zorlan capital. There's a vault." Hunter nodded to Altair. "Prep the strike team. We're going in hard." The dead world of Zorloth Prime loomed before them. Hunter led the assault personally, with Altair at his side. They fought their way through automated defenses and waves of mercenaries. The collective's soldiers were skilled, but they lacked the cohesion of Hunter's veteran team. In the heart of an ancient Zorlan fortress, they found the vault. Hunter placed breaching charges while Altair covered him. The explosion rocked the complex and they surged inside. The bioweapons sat on pedestals, malevolent and gleaming. Hunter breathed a sigh of relief. "Let's get these secured," and a slow clap echoed through the chamber. A figure stepped from the shadows, flanked by a dozen heavily armed guards. "Well done, Commander Hunter." The broker's voice was smooth as silk. "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Hunter and Altair stood back to back, weapons raised. The room erupted into chaos. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Hunter's team clashed with the broker's elite guard. Hunter found himself face to face with the broker himself. The crime lord moved with inhuman speed, his blows driving Hunter back. But Hunter had faced worse odds before. He weathered the storm, looking for an opening. Beside him, Altair's claws flashed as he dispatched 2 guards in a spray of alien blood. The Xindi spun, hurling a knife that buried itself in the broker's shoulder. The broker stumbled, and Hunter seized his chance. A vicious uppercut sent the crime lord crashing to the ground. Hunter pinned him, snapping restraints around the broker's wrists. "It's over!" he snarled. In the days that followed, Hunter and Altair led the systematic dismantling of the Shadow Collective. Cells were raided, leaders captured or killed. The bioweapons were safely destroyed under Alliance supervision. The chatter of the war room fell silent as Hunter pounded his fist on the hollow table, the image of a distant outpost flickering and distorting. "Another attack," he growled, eyes scanning the casualty reports. "This is the 3rd one this week." Altair's mandibles clicked in agitation. "The pattern is clear now. These aren't random strikes." Before Hunter could respond, a young analyst burst into the room, datapad clutched in trembling hands. "Commanders, we've intercepted a transmission. You need to see this." The hollow table flickered to life, revealing the harsh features of a battle-scarred Xindi. Hunter's eyes narrowed as he recognized the face of Krax, a once respected Xindi general. Beside him stood a Zorlon, his eyes burning with cold hatred. "Vareth," Altair hissed, recognizing Zyrax's former lieutenant. Krax's voice filled the room, dripping with contempt. "The time has come to purge the galaxy of this human infestation. To all true Xindi, rally to our cause. We will cleanse our society of Altair's treachery and restore our rightful place as the dominant force in the sector." The transmission cut off, leaving the war room in stunned silence. Hunter turned to Altair, his face grim. "We need to move, fast." Days blurred together as Hunter and Altair assembled their strike team. The best of the best, hardened veterans of a dozen campaigns, human and Xindi alike. As their stealth cruiser approached Torva Prime, Hunter addressed his warriors. "This ends today," he said, his voice cutting through the nervous energy of the hold. "We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until Krax and Vareth are in chains or in the ground." The ship shuddered as it breached Torva Prime's atmosphere. Klaxons blared as enemy fire peppered their shields. Hunter gripped the harness of his drop pod, locking eyes with each member of his team. "Remember your training," he shouted over the din. "Watch each other's backs. We're all coming home today." The pod's door slammed shut. A moment of weightlessness, then a bone-jarring impact as they slammed into the planet's surface. Hunter's pod cracked open, and he burst out into a maelstrom of fire and chaos. Plasma bolts sizzled past his head as he dove for cover. All around him, his team engaged in furious firefights with waves of fanatical insurgents. Hunter's rifle barked, downing 2 enemies in quick succession. "Push forward!" he roared, leading the charge towards the heavily fortified compound looming before them. The battle raged for hours, a brutal slog through defended corridors and booby-trapped chambers. Hunter's team fought with machine-like precision, but the cost was high. Good soldiers, friends, fell to enemy fire. As they neared the heart of the compound, a massive figure stepped from the shadows. Krax, the traitorous Xindi warlord, his bulk rippling with cybernetic enhancements. "Hunter," Krax snarled, his voice dripping with contempt. "I've waited a long time for this." The 2 warriors clashed in a fury of blows. Hunter's combat knife flashed, seeking weak points in Krax's armor. But the Xindi's raw strength was overwhelming. A vicious backhand sent Hunter sprawling, his vision swimming. Cracks loomed over him, mandibles spread in a grotesque grin. Your ghost warriors die today, human, and with them, this blasphemous alliance. As Cracks raised his weapon for the killing blow, a blur of motion knocked him aside. Altair, his scales stained with blood, interposed himself between Hunter and the traitor. Your quarrel is with me, Cracks, Altair hissed. Face a true Zindi warrior. Hunter struggled to his feet as Altair and Cracks traded savage blows. He knew he couldn't intervene. This was Altair's fight now. Instead, he turned his attention to the sounds of battle echoing from a nearby chamber. Staggering forward, Hunter found himself face to face with Vareth and his elite Zorlon guard. The Zorlon commander's eyes blazed with hatred as he recognized Hunter. So the great Commander Hunter graces us with his presence, Vareth sneered, raising a wicked-looking energy blade. Let's see if you live up to your legend. Hunter's team formed up around him, weapons at the ready. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but the fire in their eyes told Hunter all he needed to know. They would not falter. Ghost warriors, Hunter called out, his voice steady and strong. Let's remind these bastards why they fear us. With a primal roar, they charged into battle.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. And for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.